Hello, hello. It is Kirsty Salisbury here and Andy Petro. We are here live. For me, it's the 22nd of February. For Andy, it's the 21st of February. We're coming to you live on YouTube. We are live via the Let's Talk Near Death Facebook page and the VIP group. We are excited to have you here and welcome everybody who has joined us, who is watching the replay. If you are joining us live, you are able to leave some comments. You are able to interact with us. So today we have got quite a treat in store. We are back with Andy Petro, who had a near-death experience in 1955, which it blows my mind because, I wasn't even born back then. And here we are, and so much has happened in the NDE world. So much has happened with research advancing and all of these good things that have taken place since Andy's experience. So I'm going to do my formal little introduction. It's not very formal because I'm not a very formal person. But as I said, Andy Petro had his NDE in 1955. It was just days before his graduation, and I'm sure he's going to share a little bit about that. In his experience, Andy became aware of two different versions of himself. One being I'm getting all my words mixed up. I do this nearly every time, actually. One being a dimensional earthbound version of Andy. He calls it Earth Andy, and the other being a multi-dimensional holographic piece of light in which he calls himself the light version of Andy. There was no information, very little understanding of what an NDE was back in the time, and it became something so significant in Andy's life. Things that he learnt from it, everything changed for him, and his NDE was a result as drowning as a teenager. So Andy Petro, welcome to the Let's Talk Near Death podcast. We are going live and we are so grateful to have you here.
It's great to be with you again.
Take us back. For our listeners who are tuning in, maybe they're a bit newer to the podcast, not familiar with your NDE, can you give us what you actually referred to as the Cliff Notes version of your NDE? Can we have the abbreviated version? And then listeners, if you want to go and get that full experience, you can go back and revisit the episode that Andy and I did together recently. So Andy, take us back. How did it all start?
Okay, let's just jump into a time machine, and now it's 1955. It's June 13th, 2 days before graduation from high school, and our class goes to a local lake for a picnic. At the lake, I'm swimming out to a floating raft where my friends are, and I get terrible cramps. I can no longer kick. I can't swim anymore, and I sink. And I'm sinking down farther and farther. And it's June, and it's in Michigan, which is still very cold. And now I'm really starting to freeze. I'm shaking all over. I can't breathe. I can't do anything. I'm falling deeper and deeper. When I finally hit the bottom, I hit in a sitting position. And my hands are at my side, and I try to push myself up. I just want one breath of air. That's the deal I have. Talking with God, I'm talking with anybody who can listen and saying, I just want one breath of air. And as I try to push myself up, I get stuck in the mud. My hands now are stuck in the mud. I can't do anything. And right at this point in time, I hear a voice talking to me. And the voice says, Andy, knows me, says, Andy, you need a rest for just a minute. And I said, I don't think so. I have to have air. And the voice says again, Andy, if you let go and rest for just a minute, then I'll let you continue with your strife and continue to try to get to the top. And I said, okay, I'm ready. You promise? Yes, I promise. Okay. And I decided to let go. And go is the operative word. As soon as the word go formed into my mind, I catapulted out of my body in what I call a minute of no time. So at this point, I'm drowning, gagging, full of horrible pain. Every cell in my body is screaming for oxygen. And then in the next moment, in the next period, I'm out of my body. I'm in a tunnel. I look down and I can see my body there. And I say, whoa, that looks like my body, but it's not me because me is here. My body's there. And then I look in the other direction, and there's this white light. It's as everybody says, but as I say, because I can see it right now, it's like 1,000 suns all exploding at the same time. And my immediate reaction is, that's the brightest things I could ever imagine. It should just be burning my retinas out. And there is no pain from it. I could look directly at the light and there was no pain. And it started to move me towards it. The light was grabbing me and moving me into the tunnel closer and closer to the light. I got 2 minutes left. Now,
You're fine, you just go.
as I get down the tunnel, I'm about halfway, whatever that means. I'm getting closer to the light because the light's getting larger. And then in another moment of no time, I pop into this giant sphere the size of a coliseum or a football arena. And I'm hovering in the middle of it. And I like hovering. It's kind of fun. Anyway, I'm hovering in the middle of this giant ball, and the light is next to me. I can't see it, but I know it's there, and we're communicating. We're not talking because I don't have a lips and mouth and everything, but I have my spiritual body, whatever that means. And I look all over, up, down, left, right. It's like having for those people who know about Zoom, it's like having a Zoom thing going on that has an infinite number of Zoomers. Every picture is a picture of me doing something. And when I focus in on that video, I magically enter it. And now I'm there again. I'm redoing cleaning my brother's car that I did in 1960 in his Chevy. I'm cleaning it, and we're arguing and fighting about something during that time. But at this time, when I'm redoing it, I know exactly what my brother's thinking. And I know exactly what the neighbor is thinking across the street watching us. So every time I would relive any event, I would relive it, but I would know what's going on in everyone's mind, everyone's attitude, everyone's thoughts that's in the scene. So I went from one to another to another. It seemed like I'd been there for months because I'm doing a whole lifetime and lifetimes on other planets and in other galaxies, all of the things that this entity, which is known on Earth as Earth Andy, has experienced and will experience because there is no time in the light. And so then again, at a moment of no time, I'm now popped out of the sphere of my reliving into the tunnel again, and now I'm getting closer to the light. And this is the best part. Yeah, there's a lot of good parts, but this is the best part. Yeah. The best part is being in front of the light. And I'm struggling because every time I try to say this, I'm trying to find new words, and there aren't any words to explain it, so I'll just have to do the best I can. And I'm in front of the light, and I can see the light, and the light is loving me. I can feel no judgment, no hierarchy, no right or wrong, no checklist. It's just Andy. Andy, he says, Andy, don't be afraid. I said he. It's not really a he. It's a light. And the light says, Andy, don't be afraid. And the light says, Andy, I love you. And that was the best I love I've ever had. Can never get better than that. And the light says, Andy, we love you. And when the light said, Andy, we love you, the light fractured into billions and billions and billions of other lights like me. And I knew them all. Yeah, I know. Somebody says, well, how can you know a billion? When you get there, you'll know and say, oh, yeah, the guy was right. I do know them all. And the billions of other pieces of light said in one big chorus, welcome home, Andy. And that's the best I've ever felt up to this point in time, and of being welcomed back home, because that's where I belong. That's where we belong. And as soon as I heard that welcome back home, I was absorbed into the light. One of the examples I used on our previous interview was if the light's a glass of water and a teaspoon of sugar is Andy, You put the sugar in the water and spin it around, and then you say, well, where's the sugar? Right there. Where's the water? Right there. Well, is there any, which is better? Which is bigger? No, it's sugar water now. It's not water.
Yeah,
It's not Andy. It's sugar water. And so I wasn't Andy. The light wasn't the light. I was light Andy. So I knew instantly, faster than instantly, if you can do that, faster than instantly, I knew, KNEW, everything that the light knew. And what does the light know? Everything. So there was nothing that was unknown to me at that point. And I was filled with the euphoria and with the wonder and with the unconditional love that has no bounds. And then after doing everything, travel the universe, there are thousands and thousands of things that I did. By the way, in this Earth time, 5 to 10 minutes that I was drowned before somebody came and got me. I don't remember being pulled back to the shore, back onto the beach, because I really didn't. I was done with that. Whoever that body is, I'm done. I had no interest in it whatsoever. I'm in the light. That's where the action is. That's where everything's going on. And then and then all of a sudden, the light says to me, Andy, you have to go back. And I said, I don't think so. No, Andy, you have to go back. The second time, no, I'm not going back. No, you can't make me go back. But the light does. And then for the third time, Andy, you have to go back. When I heard the K in back, I was immediately stuffed back into my body. A horrible pain of being stuffed back into this stupid body. What the hell am I doing here? But I was there, back in it, and I'm laying on the beach on my stomach. That was before CPR. All this is back in the dark ages, and they're pushing the water out of my lungs, and I'm coughing the water out. And by the way, I never lost 1 second of consciousness. There are no gaps in my story. There are no, and then I can't remember it. No, I can remember everything. From the time that I stank into the mud, went into the light, came back into my body, is one continuous stream of thoughts. No gaps. Now, I've had operations where count backwards from 99 and we get to 97. I don't remember anything, and now I'm in the recovery room. There's big gaps there. I don't know anything. There were no gaps in my experience, not the smallest, tiniest gap. And so I woke up and I'm there, and I'm starting to cry because I'm not in the light. Oh my God, I'm not in the light. I'm back here. I didn't know what happened. I didn't know what it was. This was 1955. I never even heard the initials NDE. I had no idea what that meant. It took over 20 years for me to find out what it was. During that time, I'm trying to figure out what's life all about. I studied all the religions I could. I went to meditation. I did everything I could to try to see, why can't I forget this? And if I can't forget it, why don't I understand it? Why do I feel like I'm crazy? So I never spoke to anyone for over 20 years about it. Not my parents, my wife, my kids, nobody. And finally, when I read Moody's book, Life After Life, then I'm not crazy. I remember that. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I finished the book, tears coming down my eyes. I said to myself, because all my family's sleeping, I said to myself, I'm not crazy. It really happened. I don't know exactly what it was, but it happened. I didn't imagine it, and I'm not crazy. That's the short version.
Wow, thank you so much. Oh gosh, I'm just in a bit of a state right now. That was amazing. I love how you've made up these words, which I can't remember what we said, the minute that didn't actually exist, and you're talking about Earth Andy and Light Andy, and all these ways that you've sort of adapted to, I guess, best describe it. Makes my mind just go on absolute override. You've talked about your life review. Your life review was very, I would like to say, in depth. You're talking about all these different screens, how
Yes.
you're going into each one. The main question that jumped out for me, and that's why I'm going back to this. If you are listening to this live, you are very welcome to put comments in. I can see them all. I'd just like to say hi to Lonnie, to Jennifer, to Alan, to Leslie. We've got Patrick, we've got Corey, we've got lots of people here. Do put your comments and your questions in, because we are going to go through in our discussion. And Lorianne, hello. Put your questions in there, because we will answer your questions as we go. That's the benefit of coming onto these live sessions. I can ask questions till the cows come home, and you've all heard me ask a lot of questions. So it'd be great to have your questions, get something a little bit different. So do that. But I can't shake this question, Andy. You're in your life review. You said that you jump into what you would call a screen. Now, I'm aware it wasn't, but that's the closest you can describe it. And that there were all of these events happening on all these screens all at once.
Yes. Yes.
When you were in there and you're reliving it, you said that you're feeling the emotions of your brother or whoever was in that scenario that you're reliving. Were you also aware of the other parts of the life review all happening at the same time?
Yes. See,
The other screens?
This is really hard for a three-dimensional brain to comprehend. But
I know.
there were countless scenes, thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of scenes.
Oh, wow.
I knew them. I was aware of them all as a whole, and I was aware of each one of them individually. It's like the phrase that I came up with. It's looking at something that you can see the whole project at once, but also at the same time you can see each and every individual occasion. An example that I used was back in the old days when they had film in theaters. They came in big reels of film.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're gonna watch a movie, and as you're standing there looking at the machine that's making it go, you're following the one frame at a time on the screen, and they're happening so many per second so that it looks like it's moving. So I was aware of every frame individually, but I was also aware of the entire reel, and I knew how it began, I knew the middle, and I knew how it ended, but I also could focus on each and every frame. So I knew I knew my life, I knew all of my lives, but I also was able to relive each and every frame, each and every event of my life at the same time. I can't use the word time, but I'm talking to humans, and there's no other word to use.
My mind is a bit blown, and I understand it, because I also, through my own experience, have had insights into different little things. I want to come back and ask you some more questions about that. But in the meantime, Lorianne asks, did your wife read the book? Is this the Life After Life book, I assume? Has she been supportive and accepting of your experience or of this experience?
Yes, not enthusiastically, but there are some interesting statistics that an overwhelming number of people who have NDEs end up divorced. A lot of suicides occur because it's like somebody just took you out of your life, did something to you, brought you back again, and I was a very religious, in all capital letters, person. And when I came back, I'm trying to make the religion and my NDE mesh, and they can't. I think I used the phrase, the only one I can think of is cognitive dissonance, where this is my life and this is my NDE, and I'm trying to get them to come together, and they can't, because they don't work together. So now I don't know what to do. My brain doesn't know what to do. All these years of training and beliefs compared to 10 minutes of time and an infinite amount of time in the light say that's like an act in a play, Andy. My life, 18 years up to that point, was a script, and I played it well. I did everything I was supposed to do. But now I realized that it's not real. It's a script. Reality is in the light. Oh, now I'm back home. That's reality. That's where I be. Okay. And then I'm sent back here. And now I don't know. I don't, somebody who had a near death experience a month ago would have a completely different experience because there are all kinds of associations to help solve the problem and help that cognitive dissonance that the person has when reality and perception of the light reality don't mesh. So it's easier now, but that's not the point. The point is I could do I in the light I can do that. You can see everything and individual snippets all at the same time. And I was never, ever confused about
Mm,
anything.
mm.
It was obvious in the light.
Must have been super confusing when you came back, though. Must have
Yeah,
been.
now, well, because, I have an infinite amount of stuff. As I say, my brain's only like 3.5 pounds. There's only so many synapses there. I can't put an infinite number of stuff in my brain. So
Yeah.
what do you remember, Andy? Well, about this much tiny bit of what I that I remember doing, but I don't. There's so many things that I can't remember because as soon as I go back into the light, ta-da! You get a ta-da!
Yeah.
Everything's there. Fine, good experience, Andy. Let's go on. Where's the next place? Where's the next adventure? Where's the next play that you're going to be in? What's the next thing you're going to be doing?
Yeah. It's
I don't know if I
interesting, isn't it?
explained that.
Because I think we don't necessarily know what we don't know. So we don't know what we've forgotten, what we remember, but there's just that overwhelming sense of things. Do you ever have flashbacks? I remember things like a flashback. I remember something and it's a
Yes,
millisecond and then I can't remember. And I know that it was so much bigger than me. Again, I can't put words into it, I can't describe it, but I have a flashback of a memory. And in that millisecond, I comprehend this enormous amount of stuff and then it's gone. Do you have anything like that?
yes, quite frequently.
You
And there's
do?
another thing that I have too, which I discussed when we were together last time is when there are people that I meet that I know from the light.
Yeah.
They know me from the light. They might not say,
Yeah.
"I remember you from the light, Andy," but there's a knowing, not a learning, not a being together long enough to get to know. No, it's an immediate knowing. As soon as I
Yeah.
meet, I know them. Actually, we know
Yeah.
all of us know each other in the light, but I'm talking about down here on planet Earth in three-dimensional time
Yeah.
and three-dimensional and linear time. So that knowing is something I really cherish, and 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 that never occurred before my experience, only
Mm,
after. So that was
mm.
another one of the things that I brought back with me, that knowing just by feeling the energy. See, we're all 8 billion people on planet Earth. We're all vibrating at our own specific frequency or
Yeah.
energy
Yeah.
frequency, and I can sense and and detect that energy from certain people, and as they can detect mine. And so there's an immediate knowing from somebody that you haven't met before on the planet, immediate knowing of that person just by being close.
Yeah.
And that's
I think we all have that as well. I don't think we necessarily have to be an experiencer or very spiritual or meditate a certain amount of minutes a day. I think we've all had that experience where we meet somebody and we're like, oh, they're so familiar. I feel like I've met them before, but we don't know what from. I suspect that that happens all the time. And it's what you're talking about, that we've met in some other place,
yes,
some other dimension, some other lifetime.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. We've got so many questions coming in. They're
Okay.
starting to scroll off my screen. So, um, thank you. I'd love to come back if we have time at the end to just discuss a little bit more on your question, Lorianne, about the book. Patrick, he says everything was happening in the light. What was going on in the light?
Uh, Everything is going on in the light. Uh, you know, Someone asked me a question once. I was giving a talk in Virginia at one time, and somebody put their hand up and said, it's got to really be boring in the light, because what do you guys do? You're
Mm.
just floating around on clouds playing harps or stuff like that. No, 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 no. That's not the point. See, every time that I experience something, I'm going to do a little double talk here. Every time that I experience something that I already knew, because I know everything, so there's nothing I don't know. But in the light, when I experience something, it's as if I'm experiencing it for the first time. See, it doesn't make sense to my brain as I'm saying this, but that's what happens. So when I experience something in the light that I know, because there's nothing I don't know in the light, I'm experiencing
Yeah.
it as if it's the first time. So the earth phrase of boredom doesn't exist in the light. That just
Yeah.
it it can't. That doesn't exist. No, boredom doesn't make any
I was
sense.
just thinking
The
that.
word,
Yeah.
you throw it away. It doesn't mean anything.
Yep. And it's such a state of contentment as well. So we have in the light no needs. We're not lacking anything. So we're not bored.
It,
We're not hungry. We're not, I don't know,
no,
all the things that we get frustrated by in our physical bodies. None of that's there. So we're literally in a state of contentment or bliss or whatever name you want to give it. So yeah, I love that. So you just were in the light.
yeah.
That's it.
Let me say one more thing about the light, and that is
Yep.
because this is very, very important to me, especially considering my background, where I came from before I went into the light. There, when I was in the light, I never experienced any hierarchy, any judgment, or separation. Those three things that are embedded in Earth culture. Hierarchy means someone's better than you, someone's less than you. There's a ranking of people and things. There is no ranking, because there is no piece of the light greater than any other piece of the light. There isn't a light in charge. There's no
Mm,
light king. There's no light prince. They're just pieces of light who together make the light, and therefore the light is everybody. So therefore, if there is no hierarchy, there is no separation. We are unique because we are all vibrating at our own frequency. There are no two frequencies the same, but there's an infinite number of frequencies. Okay, so that's something that was really hard for me to grasp. That there are no, everyone is unique, but
mm,
together they are one, and and oneness was the next part. The oneness is all of us. Who's in
mm.
charge? The light. Who is the light? All the billions of pieces of light that exist on this planet, any other planet throughout the universe, all around, whatever. Yes, that's it. That's what I remember, and that's what I experienced.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, moving on, coming back to, I guess, your integration. If you have children, do you have children?
Yes, three boys.
Yeah. Okay. So your children, have you told them, and has it shaped their lives or thinking or spirituality?
Uh, yes, I've told them. Um, I they both all of most of my relatives have read my book.
Yeah.
Most of them react as if they had just read a Western or a romance novel or something. It's not meaningful to them. It's more of
Yeah.
a fantasy. It's like reading a science fiction story rather than this is what your father, your grandfather, your uncle, your brother experienced, and he didn't make it up. This isn't. It's the best that he could do to explain in English words what he experienced in his 10 to 15 minutes of death, which ended up being an infinite amount of time in the light. So no, I don't. My wife, yes, she helped me write the book, but it's just hard for them in the collection of them to grab the essence of what I'm trying to say, of and no matter how I try to explain it, because
Mm.
everything that I experienced in the light was experienced with knowing and feeling, not words. When I said, the light said, Andy, don't be afraid, the light didn't really say, Andy, don't be afraid. The light communicated to me kind of telepathically, is a earth term I can use. And
Mm.
the essence of what was sent between the light and I was, Andy, don't be afraid. Andy, I love you. And then all the lights, Andy, we love you. So that, I'm saying that by writing in the words, those are the things they said, but they weren't really said. They were communicated to me, some
Mm.
telepathically. Yes,
Mm.
clearly, understandingly, and I was filled with knowing. Now, I've got a couple degrees. I got a graduate degree. I studied a lot. I used to like to study, but in the light, it's a knowing. I didn't get absorbed into the light and said, okay, now we're going to talk about the universe and how that works. Now we're going to talk about how lives work. Now we're going to talk about love. Now we're going to talk about hate. Now we're going to talk. It was just like in an instant of no time, I knew everything.
Mm.
And it wasn't a surprise. It wasn't a shock. That's the way it is. I'd
Yeah.
forgotten when I dropped my vibrations, reduced my vibrations so that I could be born on planet Earth. I couldn't take everything that I knew in the light with me because they can't fit. Okay.
Yeah.
So I came
Yeah.
to experience things and then to go back. So now I'm just waiting for the taxi. Just ready to go back. Okay. I don't mean to make light of it, but on that point, okay, the light is funny. I mean, it's
Yeah.
almost like a nonstop stand up. I mean, when we were looking at we were reviewing my life, we were just laughing how really dumb I was, how I was
Really?
making big deals out of all these things that didn't make any
Oh,
difference
yeah.
in 10 days or 10 hours or 10 minutes. What's the big deal? Why can't you
Yeah.
just love
Yeah.
somebody and accept it and move on? Help
Yeah.
people. Don't be so upset about who says this about you and that this person's got more money and this one stole it. All that drama. Okay? It's
Yeah.
just drama.
We take it too seriously, don't we? Sometimes we get so wrapped up in things. And, I catch myself doing this and I go, in 5 years, am I ever going to care right now about this particular thing? It doesn't matter. And then you go in terms of a lifetime, such a big amount of time. We get so focused in on things and then we realize none of it matters. I think we take life really seriously. And we should to a degree, but we should also have a whole lot of fun and understand it's just a tiny drop in a big ocean. Yeah. So going back to the early days, we're talking about integrating your NDE. How did you learn how to incorporate that into everyday life?
It took many years to do that. Many, and actually did first 20 years was, I mean, I was struggling with, I mean, I was on a mission to find out what really happened to me. And that
Mm.
led me in various ways. I ended up going into the seminary. I decided, that maybe the priesthood would be it. But I left a year before ordination because that I couldn't do it. That wasn't it. So then I go, well, let me go to the opposite end of the spectrum. So then I went in the Marine Corps. So I was in the Marine Corps, from the seminary to the Marine Corps, which is an interesting human jump. Okay, and
Mm.
trying to find out what's going on, and that didn't work. And so then I got on. Went to college, and I didn't finish, and I was pretty much a mess, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Why am I this way? Why don't I understand things? Why
Mm.
why didn't I want to be with my family anymore? My relatives, all the people who would have the same DNA. I felt like I didn't belong there.
Mm.
I didn't have anything in common with them anymore. They're talking about football, baseball, all this, that. I didn't care about that stuff. That's not important. That's little trivial stuff. That's noise making stuff to keep your mind occupied so that you don't think about anything. So I left home and never really went back to other than to visit because it didn't make sense to me. It did not make sense.
Yeah.
Couldn't understand why things were happening that way. So I ended up just making my own family based on people that I've met over the last 60 years of meeting people, having friends, and helping one another and loving one another, and then moving on. And so that's been the integration that got me to be Andy Petro, age 83, doing this conversation. is I wouldn't suggest it to anybody. It, it was pretty much a mess, but it's me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it was the best I could do at the time based on what I knew and what I remembered. And now
Yeah.
the title of our presentation today is, do I think of it every day? Absolutely. Absolutely. Every single day. The first thing I think of when I wake up is, well, I'm still here. Okay. I got another day on the blue marble. Let's see what happens now. And I'm really anxious to go back because not in any kind of sadistic way.
Yeah.
I've done it. I had a practice run.
Yeah.
Worked fine. Now the next time it's fine. I'm not in it. I'm not going to do anything deliberate to cause it. There's no reasons for me to do that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there is no reason for me to do that. I'll just stay here. The idea of being able to, if I had gone back to the light years ago, I wouldn't have got to meet you here on planet Earth. That's an honor in the first place. So there's a lot of reasons for me to be here and to interface with people and be silly from time to time.
Yeah, I love that. And like I said, I think we need to have fun and we need to be silly. You're talking about waiting for your taxi, which it just, I find that hilarious. Do you have these conversations with your wife where you're saying, well, actually, honey, I'm quite happy to leave here. I'm just waiting for my taxi. Do you talk to her about that? How does that make her feel? Does she feel the same? So many things we could talk about there.
Well, I think we've been together for 60 years, so that's pretty long time.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
So yeah, but it's not, it's not been this is not a Hollywood romance. I mean, it's not like,
oh yeah,
it's just Leave It to Beaver and everything works really nice. No, that's not it. But it works, and it works because that's the script that we're living out. So anytime that something would happen that I didn't want, I would just rewrite the script. And now we're doing this. Oh, okay, that's fine. And then she would rewrite the script to do her way. So it's an interesting relationship that we have.
Yeah. So you're talking about rewriting the script. You think that we have the ability to rewrite anything in our lives?
Yes.
Just expand on that for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like the pandemic thing, to be current. Okay. Why don't we just? I can control everything that I want to control that's within my sphere of influence. Okay.
Yeah.
And I choose, instead of choosing anger and hatred and separation, I choose love and helpfulness and assistance. That doesn't mean I formed a big corporation that fills the world with all these people who do good things, but for me, I like to help people that I meet on an ongoing basis, people that I run into, people that I meet when I go out, people that when I go to the gas station and fill my car up and somebody pulls his car next to me and we have a brief chat, make them feel good, make them feel better. So my whole objective is as I say in one of my books, tiny little acts of joy, hundreds of them or thousands of them, not any one big one. I've never done anything to have the world say, "Wow, look at that guy! He knows what he's doing." I don't. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the guy that comes to help me fix some things in my garage, and we sit and we talk and I helped to make him feel better when he left than when he got there. It's small things because the whole idea of unconditional love is that to love unconditionally means you're loving without expectation, okay, without any reward. You're choosing. I'm choosing to love you unconditionally because I choose to. Whatever you do makes no difference. I'm not going to. I love my children unconditionally because I choose to. Whether they end up being fantastic success, president, or down in Skid Row living in a cardboard box down by the river, that doesn't affect my love for them because unconditional love means love unconditionally. There are no conditions on my love. There's nothing that you can do to stop me from loving you because I choose to. Now, I may not like you, that's not the point, but my love for you is unconditional.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be, doesn't it? It's always coming back to love. Now, we're coming up. This is a really big question, Andy, and I've sort of been holding off to get a little bit more background. I love it. So this is from Sunny. Thank you, Sunny, for asking this question. Did he say that he saw life on other planets? And I heard you say that, and I was flagging that as, oh, let's come back here. You talked about how, gosh, I can't get the exact words. You were talking about all the other lifetimes and things you'd seen when you were in the light, the other experiences you had on Earth, before Earth, on planets, different things.
Yes.
Expand on that. Do you have memories of other planets? Do you have memories of other lifetimes?
I did when I was in the light. Now I still have a few of them. I remember living on another planet. To say, here's the thing. It wasn't before or after this lifetime because in the light there is no before and after. It's all happening at the same time. I know that causes my brain to do the same thing. What do you mean? How can it all be at the same time? Okay, well, just play with me for a minute. It all happens at the same time.
Yeah.
And my life experience on another planet, as it relates to planet Earth, was just thinking about it. And I had memories of that when I was 3 and 4, 5 years old before I went to school. I would talk to my parents about that. Didn't go over very well. And my parents said, "You stop talking about that because they're gonna put you away. You can't be talking about living on another planet."
Yeah.
But my memories of the other planet is it was a planet of light, not the same kind of light, but just using the word light. And on that planet, there was a lot of diversity. Okay, different colors, shapes, sex, all of that stuff. But on that planet, we celebrated diversity instead of using it as a wedge for hate, killing, and murder, and all those other things. And I remember just thinking about that as a little boy. I couldn't understand because this takes me back to the 40s. World War II was going on at this time, and everything was ordered, and the Japanese and the Germans and the Italians and killing all this and all that. And my little brain was saying, well, that's not the way it was on the planet in the planet of the light, because when people were a different color or a different race or a different sect or whatever, we celebrated that because diversity made us all richer. And as a 4-year-old, I couldn't understand why we weren't doing that here on this planet. It was just very sad for me. In the light, then I remembered living there. Now that doesn't mean that it was all peaches and cream. It wasn't like the light. It was still a planet. There still were bad things happening. But as a whole on that planet, I think about going back there because I enjoyed celebrating diversity. And I enjoyed the bond of love, and I enjoyed the fact that we had what should I say, a species memory bank. In other words, when we did something, when there was a war, when that war occurred, whenever that was, generation after generation would remember exactly how it was, and we definitely would not do it over again because it would be stupid to remember clearly what you did and how painful it was, and then to deliberately go and do it again. So we didn't repeat things over and over and over again like we do here on planet Earth.
Yeah, we really do.
So that's one of the places that's very clear in my mind, even to today. I
Yeah.
remember that place, and I remember it with a smile because I can't remember it and not smile because it was such a wonderful place to be. Good times and bad times, but diversity was celebrated, not used as a wedge for hatred.
Do you remember specific detail? Like, I assume you were in bodies. Were they like our human bodies? How did you pass your time? What was the point of being there? Did you live in houses? Were you in families? My mind's, yeah.
Yeah, very similar. Okay,
Okay.
there were things there were things to do. There was weather and climate, and things would be changing. There would be the disease would be there. I mean, it was very similar to Earth. The big difference was not in the external aspect of it, but in the mindset, in the fact that there was a oneness that was inbred into everyone upon birth that said we're all one, regardless of what you look like, regardless of what you do. So that oneness was celebrated on that planet, in that solar system, in that galaxy, and this one, and this one is not. Okay, planet Earth is not that way. So I remember living in two completely different, very similar but different mindsets. Diversity celebrated, diversity used as a wedge for hatred.
Mm.
It was very clear to
Wow.
me.
Wow. Thank you. Gosh, okay. I'm gonna have to process that because that's outstanding. Thank you. Okay, coming through our comments here. If you have questions, do pop them in there. If you're enjoying this, you might want to give Andy a little thumbs up or a love heart or something like that. This is great, Andy. Thank you. I'm getting so much out of this. Jenny comes on, says that feeling is amazing. I assume that was a little while ago. I think that was the outer body. Jenny's also an NDE experiencer, has been on the podcast show. So lovely to have you joining us. Okay, from Lonnie. After seeing the magical next, I guess it's phase of our existence, I'd imagine it's hard to focus on staying here and moving forward. And that probably comes back to when we're talking about how you're waiting for your taxi.
Yes.
Yeah. Because we sort of also, you mentioned a lot of people don't wait. A lot of people end their life prematurely,
Sure.
which I say there's a lot of caution around that. That is not something that I highly recommend. I do think there's consequences for that, not just for the people left behind, but for the person who does that. Difficult to stay here. You've talked about filling the script, rewriting the script. Do you think we come here with purpose, and do you think that we are here until we finish our allocated purpose or our agreed purpose, and then the taxi comes, or what keeps you here?
Say that again.
What keeps you here? Do you think that we have a specific purpose
Oh,
and that we're here till that's completely fulfilled?
yeah. As I said, I was a little bit saddened because I wasn't given a specific purpose by the light when I read of so many other people who had a specific purpose or purposes. Okay, but it doesn't make any difference to me. It doesn't make any difference. I know what my purpose is. My purpose is to do thousands of little acts of joy to people randomly to help make their day a little better than if I hadn't been walking by. So that's to me that's fine. I don't need a specific grand purpose. There's nothing wrong with that, but I don't have one, and I don't need one. Uh, and
Mm.
and and so why am I still here? I ask myself that every morning when I get up.
Yeah.
Another sunrise, Andy. Okay, maybe tomorrow. Now, what are we going to do today? So that, but, and it's okay because I'm here
Yeah, it
now,
is okay.
talking to you, sharing stuff with people. I share
Yeah.
stuff with people all the time. Um, there's no sense of urgency on my part to leave, and
Mm.
there's no sense of of urgency to stay. It's however it works out. I know at some point in time that I'm going back and start over again someplace else. Already having started over. I can say that because we're in linear time now. There's no linear time
Yeah.
in the light, so there's no yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So, yep. So that's it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's great. I'm just thinking about this linear time that we could be living all of these lives next to each other at the same time. I wonder how many we would live at once.
All of
It
them.
could be unlimited, couldn't it?
Yeah. To answer that question in the light, it's all of them.
Yeah.
You know, I just said that answer, and my human brain said, "Andy, are you on something? What do you mean? You can't be living all of them at the same time." Yes, we are, because there is no
Yeah.
time in the light.
And we
Yes.
can't count them. It's just all of them. Yeah. Oh, I love
The
it.
interesting thing
Okay.
is now that I'm in planet Earth, I'm actually living this one now, because there was a yesterday, there's a now, and there's going to be a tomorrow if I'm still here. Okay. So yes, I'm experiencing it now. And when I was on the planet of light, same thing there. There was a yesterday, a today, and tomorrow, because my vibrations were in a three-dimensional linear time universe, as compared to being in one that's multidimensional universe that has no time.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. My mind is just blown. It's so good. Okay, so we're talking about these different lives. We're talking about living potentially in different places all at the same time.
Uh-huh.
You obviously believe that we can be in more than one place at once or that we have more than one lifetime. So Laurie Ann's question is, do you believe in reincarnation? And how does that's her question. My question to add on to that is, if you do believe in reincarnation, how does that work in a linear world
Okay,
or
reincarnation,
non-linear?
I believe in it. As defined on planet Earth, reincarnation, yes, in general, okay, but my memory is not that there isn't anybody in the light who's saying, Andy, listen, you didn't do this right, so I'm going to send you back, and you're going to have to do it over again. There is no there is no
Mm,
person in charge. There is nobody
mm,
evaluating and rating you and determining, are you living a certain way? If not, you got there. That doesn't exist. That doesn't exist in life. But Andy may decide, yeah, I think I want to come back to planet Earth, and I do it a little differently. Well, when do I want to come back? In time, 1200, 1620, 2550. What
yeah,
doesn't
he's
make a
never
difference?
choosing
Pick
anything.
one. They're all there, because that's a time a time existence. Okay, so
Yeah.
yes, I've been many things in many ways. Using Earth terminology, I've experienced being a woman, a man, uh, different colors, different races, uh, different countries, different experiences. Yeah, they're all there.
Mm, mm.
And,
Interesting.
and what,
Yeah, it was funny because we were joking before we actually went live on the call talking about in our next lifetime, and I said I want to come back as a cat because to me that's I just think that would be a great life. And you were talking about living in other places and different things. Our next question is, do we see our pets again?
say again?
Do we see our pets again?
Oh,
So
yeah.
our animals, once
You
they've died.
okay? Because everything that exists is created from the same energy. Okay, so if you have pets now or friends, okay, or turtles or whatever, they're they go back to, everything goes back to the light. So yes, when I was in the light, I saw all kinds of things in people, and people that I recognized, people that I didn't recognize at the moment, but that I knew, because everybody in the light. There's nobody that you don't know. So yes, to answer the question using Earth technology and Earth experiences. Um, did you see? Do you see your friends, relative, pets, other things that are alive? Yes, is the answer, because it goes back to one of my closing statements in my book was that what's going to happen when you die, Andy? Where are you going? And the answer is there's only one place to go, and that's back to the light. No matter what I do or didn't do, doesn't make a difference. It's going back to the light. That's where you go. Why? Because there's no place there's no place else to go. That's where it all is. And from the light comes universes, galaxies, all the wonderful things that exist, but it's all done by vibrating pieces of the light.
So you've just mentioned.
Pardon?
Sorry, carry on.
No,
you carry on. It's all right. I think there's actually a little bit of a crossover, a delay. You were just talking about meeting pets and family members. A lot of people, when they have their near-death experience, they're talking about they'll see past loved ones who have died before them, who are there to greet them, their welcome team. You've talked about different places. Jodie's question is, do you believe that we have soul groups that we reincarnate with?
The answer is yes, if that's what you choose to do. See, the point I'm trying to make is that when you get into the light, there isn't any, my experience in light, there wasn't anyone there that was telling you what to do or what not to do. There wasn't anyone evaluating or judging you, or classifying you as something or something else. Because I'm a piece of the light, just like all the other pieces of the light. We're all there. We're all together doing it all. So it's hard for me to answer sometimes questions that are earth-based. Okay, like a soulmate, which would be one human man, a human woman, or two human women, whatever you want to call soulmates. Are they going to be together in the light? The answer is yes, because where are they going to go when they're not here? Everybody goes back to the light. So there's nobody that you can't see in the light, because everybody's there. Are you talking about billions and billions of people? Yes, I'm talking about, the answer is everybody's there. There's no other place to go. There is no drama to that. The drama is created by people here on planet Earth who are forgetting all that they knew in the light and are recreating the play called let's have soulmates, let's have good people and bad people, let's have devils, let's have angels, let's create whatever you want. But that's another act of the play, another chapter in the movie. Where's reality? Reality is in the light. So I can see why a lot of things I say are not very popular, because my experience in the light was not tethered to the drama on planet Earth. The drama's here. You want to live the drama, live the drama. But that's not reality. That's just another play on the Broadway stage.
So talking about this drama, Andy, we've got a question here from Viola. got a real big echo as well. I apologize if our listeners can hear that. All the harm done to Earth by humans, can we reverse course, or is it too late?
It's never too late. You know, I'm not talking about from a scientific standpoint. Somebody runs a program, the simulation program. Yeah, if you don't do anything by 2026, then no, it's never too late. What are we missing? If you look, what is it that we're really missing on planet Earth right now? And that is, we're focusing on hatred. We're focusing on fear. We're focusing on things that separate us rather than bring us together. We could do anything. Separately, we can experience kind of what we're experiencing now. Let's have a red color, a blue color, a brown color, a black color, a white color, a pink color. It doesn't make any. That's silly. That doesn't make any sense. Where is the unconditional love that is used to bind a species on a planet? We don't have it now. Will we ever have it? Sure, if we choose to do it. But I don't mean to sound like I'm preaching. I'm just telling you those are the facts. Okay. Can we do something? The answer is yes, we can do something. And it starts with one person. So one and one and one and one, and get close to 8 billion ones, and the world would change dramatically. But
yeah,
you know, it's a mindset. It's a mindset that has to change. That's what I remember from the light. And in the light, we're all of the same but unique mindsets. I have to keep doing double talk when I talk about the light. We're all unique, but we're all one. Okay. We're all vibrating different frequencies, but together we make one big giant oneness frequency that controls and creates everything.
Oh wow, I've never heard that. That is amazing. That is so cool. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Well, there's one thing I just. Oh, it's on. That looks like time's up.
No, we're all good. We just keep going.
Okay, I just wanted to say there's one of the things that I was trying to get in, that I was trying to explain, which was when I was absorbed into the light, when I became this sugar water, it was a knowing that at that point in time, I was not greater than or less than the light. In fact, hard to believe with my earth mind, I became the light. I became one with the light. There was no difference between light Andy and the light. There was no difference between light Andy and light Kirsty. There was no difference between light Andy and light Mary. There was no differences. Frequency differences, but we were all still pieces of the same. And collectively, we created everything that exists. That was one of the first things that I knew, KNEW. I knew that as soon as I was absorbed into the light. And I couldn't help but smile and laugh because it's so simple, so beautiful, and so wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. There's a lot of comments coming in saying huge thank yous. Awesome. Mark says, please tell him thank you so much for sharing. You can go through afterwards, actually, but a lot of love coming here for you, Andy. We have got just a couple of minutes. This is your very last chance to pop in your question. As you're doing that, I'm just going to take one more from Sandy, which is, if reality is in the light, why are we here? And that's a huge question.
Okay, why are we here? Okay, I ask myself.
Yeah, if reality is the light.
Yes. So Why are we here? We're here. I'm here. Let me talk about me because I know me the best. I'm here to experience the relative. In the light, everything is known. There is no unknown.
Mm.
To experience knowing, you at first have to not know. If you don't know something and then you know it, it's like the first time I solved a quadratic equation in Algebra 101 in high school, the feeling I got of knowing when I sat down to try to figure it out, I didn't know. That feeling of knowing from not knowing. In the light, there is no knowing because there is no not knowing. So you don't have that feeling. You know it all. So if I decide to lower my vibrations to come into a universe that has three dimensions and linear time, then I can not know things because I can choose not to remember. I can't remember everything anyway when I manifest myself as a three-dimensional person. So I know something. Yes, now I know it. Wow, what a great feeling. So the reason is to experience and share the relative, hot and cold, young and old. I'm 84. I remember when I was 6, 7, 10, 12, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60.
Mm-hmm.
In the light, there is no time, there is no age, there's just me and you and everybody. So to experience these things, this is my interpretation of my memory, is that the light creates universes and worlds to experience the relative, to experience the difference between unconditional love and conditional hate. You can't experience that in the light? You know it, but you can't experience it. But you can't experience it here. So what am I doing here? My goal on planet Earth is to choose unconditional love more often than not. Because if I chose unconditional love all the time, I wouldn't have left the light. Because I want to know, what does it feel like not to love? What does it feel like to hate? What does it feel like to truly love unconditionally? That's what I'm here for. To experience the relative that can't be experienced in the light because the light's everything. There is no relative there. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah,
Probably.
it does, but it doesn't. Like as good as it can, yes. I'm in a state of, I actually feel completely blissed out. Oh, you're so welcome, Jody. Jody just said thank you very much. So that's wonderful. Yeah, it makes sense, but yet I have so many questions and so many bits are missing that it makes no sense at all. And I love that I get to that place. And so, yeah, perfect. Thank you. I expect quite a lot of our listeners are feeling the same way. You've talked about so many different things today, which has been so fascinating. You've talked about your own integration, your own experience, the light, reasons why we might be here. You've talked about rewriting the script. Time and time again, different elements of life after an NDE. Is there one last thing, one last message or something that's on your heart or something that you would want our listeners to hear or to understand?
I would say the one thing that is the overriding a message that I got from remembering being in the light is unconditional love solves all.
How good is that?
For instance, freedom is a very important concept for me. Freedom and unconditional love work hand in hand. You can't be truly free if you don't love unconditionally.
Yeah.
You can't be truly free if you don't love unconditionally. If you're not loving unconditionally, that means that you're loving with some expectations and you're loving with some requirements. Well, then you can't truly be free. You can be kind of free, but you can't be truly free. And if you're living if you're loving unconditionally, it's the freest thing that you can experience because you choose to love regardless of what happens. You can't be freer than that. That's true freedom.
Hmm.
That's what I brought back from the light, that those two are opposite sides of the same cosmic coin. Unconditional love and freedom work hand in hand. You can't be free
Wow.
unless you love unconditionally. And if you love conditionally, if you love unconditionally, you're the freest experience you can have. They make one another.
Yeah, they do. Wow, thank you so much. That is fabulous. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in to watch. We love it. We love your comments. We love your interaction with us. If you've loved this, just give Andy a little like, a thumbs up, or a love heart, something there, so he can see afterwards all the comments and the love that we've had from having this discussion. Andy, we so appreciate your time, so appreciate having you. I'm going to put a link to your book into the notes once I jump off this call. So if you're listening, you've loved today, you've still got more questions, or you want to know more, you can either go back and listen to our full episode where we talked in a lot more depth around Andy's actual Andy's actual experience. Also, go and grab a copy of his book. Support him personally so that you can do that. I'll put a link in there so you can click on the link and go straight through to do that. Andy Petro. Wow, thank you. I love it. I've been looking forward to this for a while because we talked so much last time. We keep saying there's more, there's more, there's more. I suspect there is a whole lot more still. So thank you so much. There's a lot of comments coming in, great messages. Thank you both. That blew my mind. Thank you for everything you've shared. So thank you, listeners. You make this podcast what it is, and I so appreciate you and the input that you have into this.
Okay,
Andy, thank
just
you. We'll catch you very soon.
just remember, I love you unconditionally.
Oh, love it. And
Thank
that's for
you.
everyone. That's not for me personally. That's for everyone who's listening.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Andy.